Hey guys, so the Beautylish Gift Card Event is upon us. They're now having this gift card event twice a year. It used to only be once a year, like in the fall. So they are having it twice a year now, and this one is the spring one. So it starts today. I'll have all the details down below in the description box because I'm always afraid I'm going to mess it up. But it does start today. It does start at, I believe, 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. Anyway, check down below in my description box. So how this gift card event works is for every $100 you spend, you will get $20 as a gift card back to Beautylish, and they will be sending out all the gift cards like after the event is over. That's about it. It's pretty simple. So if you guys have been watching me for a while, you know that I've done these videos before every time the gift card event pops up, probably for the last couple of years. And these videos are very long, very, very long, because Beautylish carries a lot of brands that I love. They also carry a lot of wonderful Japanese handmade brushes that I like to go through and talk about. So I'm going to be giving you a lot of recommendations. So settle in. This is going to be a long one. So with that said, let me start with brushes. And I'm going to start with, as you guys know, my favorite brand, which is Sonia G. I like a lot of brushes. I like a lot of Japanese handmade brushes. But whenever anyone asks me like what my one favorite brand is, it is Sonia G. So I'm going to give you 5 brushes here. I recommend her entire line. There isn't one brush in there that I'm like, it's okay. They're all beautiful. They're all beautiful. They all work beautifully. They're all very, very unique in their shape, in their purpose. And I think what I love the most about Sonia's brushes is her like approach to them, and how she wants them to be very versatile. She wants you to be able to kind of, you know, figure out how you like to use them. So I do find that, at least with a couple of the brushes that I'm going to be mentioning, that you can use them like in different places, and just kind of ends up being like whatever your preference is. So let me start with the Smooth Buffer. Now, I would also be recommending the face one, but it is sold out at the moment. The Smooth Buffer is basically just like a smaller version of the face one. And these are, you know, flat top kabuki style brushes. And I don't know enough about hand making brushes, but there is something very, very special about these buffing brushes, because they buff out product beautifully. Absolutely beautifully. And I don't use finishing powder with anything other than either the face one or the Smooth Buffer. And until I started using these brushes, I didn't even really get finishing powder. It was like adding another powder as like my last step onto all of my makeup. Felt like, just felt like so much makeup. I didn't really understand the purpose of it. And then when I started using these brushes, using like my Guerlain Meteorites or any other kind of finishing powder that has like a little bit of sheen to it, it buffs your skin out like a piece of marble. Like your skin will look so smooth and glowy, and of course, depending on the powder that you use, but just really, really smooth. So I cannot recommend this brush enough. It is a game changer. And yeah, by the looks of it, it's like, okay, it's like another flat top kabuki brush. I'll just use a different one. It's not the same. And again, I don't know what the magic is. I don't know how to like break it down other than to say this and the face one has been just game changing, absolutely game changing. So that is my first recommendation for Sonia G. And the second brush that I want to recommend is the Cheek Pro. This is one of my all-time favorite cheek brushes. I do use this predominantly for blush, but you can use it for highlight. You can use it for contour. It does have like a pinched ferrule, so it does have like an oval shape versus a round shape. So again, Sonia G brush, very versatile. You can use it, you know, holding it in one direction, turning it, holding it in another direction. It has this really kind of like bulbous shape, but it's not overly so. And so you can really kind of, I have used this as contour before, so you can really kind of get in there if you need to. And this brush, along with the Smooth Buffer, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, these are all dyed goat hair. So incredibly soft, yet they also pick up product really nicely. They also lay down product very, very evenly. Very, very effective in blending out. So I just love this Cheek Pro. Like I said, it's just very, very versatile. It just has this like really kind of like pleasant fluffy shape to it, almost like a cotton ball, but at the same time, it can be very, very like strategic in its placement. So yeah, it's just really wonderful. So that's the Cheek Pro. Another brush that is incredibly versatile that has really grown on me. It's become one of those tools that like I just always have here, like right in my brush cup, doesn't go anywhere. It is the Detail Pro brush. So this brush is like a gigantic blender brush, you could say. So I use this to blend out eyeshadow. I use this to highlight, if I need to highlight like down my nose if I want to. If I want to just apply powder in very specific places. Like this brush just comes in handy all the time. If I'm like, oh man, and I just do something weird, if I'm just touching up, or if I just, like I said, if I'm just kind of like spot powdering, like I just feel like, oh, I just need to kind of like maybe set down concealer a little bit more in that one spot, I always reach for this brush. It's like, I'll look around and think, oh, the Detail Pro, and I'll just go in with this brush. So this one is, it's really just become very, very indispensable. And this actually has a mixture of dyed and undyed goat hair, which gives it this really beautiful appearance. And all of these brushes should only be used with powder products, just FYI. So those three. And then the next one is the Blender Pro brush. This is, you know, it's just like become the ultimate blender brush for me. It is the perfect shape, the perfect size, again, dyed goat hair. And it just has like, it just has like the perfect sort of like firmness to it. So it's not too firm where I feel like all I can do is use it to blend out and not lay down. It has definitely a firmness to it, but it also has like the hairs have this like flexibility. So it's not packed too tightly. And with that flexibility, I feel like I can lay down product really, really nicely. And then I can also use it to blend out. So again, Sonia G brushes, just incredibly, incredibly versatile. And yeah, and just really, really soft. And yeah, this is just one that I just constantly reach for. It's just a workhorse kind of brush. And then the last Sonia G brush, and again, I would recommend any of them. Absolutely any of them. I just didn't want to go on and on and on just about Sonia G. But the last brush I wanted to mention is the Worker 3 brush. And so she has a Worker 1 brush, a Worker 2 brush. I think those are both sold out at the moment. And I think all of my Worker 2s, oh, here's one. So the Worker 1 brush, this was one of the first brushes she came out with. I love this brush. Dyed goat hair. It's like a really fat, dense shader brush. So it definitely has like a pinched ferrule, and so it has this oval shape to it. So it's not like a typical blender brush, but because it's so thick, you know, it's not pinched so flat. It just, again, is so versatile. You could use it to lay down product like a shader. You can use it to blend out because it is so fluffy. And then the Worker 2, same exact brush, but with undyed goat hair. So these two I really love, but I'm recommending the Worker 3 because it's a little bit smaller, and I think that makes it even more versatile. And the fact that it's undyed goat hair, you can actually use it with cream products. So because these brushes are fatter, I think they're more efficient. And that's the Worker 1 and Worker 2 I'm talking about. They're more efficient. You can lay down product more quickly if you have like a one and done shadow thing that you're doing. I definitely recommend these. But the Worker 3, I think because it's smaller, it just is a little bit more versatile because you can, you know, obviously work it in the same way as Worker 1 or Worker 2. But if you're laying down, let's say, a one and done shade, it'll take you maybe just a few strokes longer, but because it's not as dense, there's like a little bit more flexibility there. And, you know, you can like really kind of blend out back and forth. You can use the tips to just kind of like deepen up your lash line. And again, because this is undyed goat hair, I can use it with cream shadows, which you guys know I love. So this just, I don't know, it's just like the most like versatile worker brush. I think, even though I love the 1 and the 2 just as much, I think they're just absolutely wonderful. And I'm, you know, just such a fan of the one and done shadow, but this one is just, it's just really nice because it's just a little bit smaller. So those were the 5 Sonia G brushes that I could manage to just kind of narrow down into this like small little list. But again, any of her brushes, any of them, if you're interested in any of them, I would not hesitate in getting them. They are just impeccably made and just such a joy to use. Like they just elevate the whole process of putting makeup on. It's just, you know, it's so much fun. And then to be able to use those brushes, it's just like, oh, it really just elevates the entire process. So anyway, moving on from Sonia G, Beautylish has come out with their own brushes. So they came out with the Yano series, and they have a face set and they have an eye set. I just wanted to mention a couple from there because I have really fallen in love with the brush number 2. So you can purchase the whole set if you want, or you can purchase the brushes individually. The brush number 2 is it's like it has like a bit of a pinched ferrule, so it's kind of paddle shaped. And then what I didn't realize when I first unboxed these brushes and I showed them to you, I thought, you know, brushes many times, because of the way they're packed, they can be kind of like scrunched up and like kind of warped until you wash them or start using them or whatever. So I thought this was a result of it being packed, but it's actually angled, and I love that. This little angling of the hairs, and then this side is just more of like a normal, like quote unquote normal shape of a brush. It's just so cool. You can really kind of brush contour on so that it's not too precise, which I think looks a little unnatural, a little bit scary. I like putting it on just like in a really kind of like light, fluffy way. And this angle just is so perfect. And then you can like brush away product really easily. You can apply powder. I love applying powder with this brush, like underneath my eye. It has this, it's not a point, but you know, it kind of comes to like a nice kind of precise tip there. It's become such a great face brush. I feel like I can use this for pretty much anything. And again, because it has a slight pinch to it, if you just rotate the brush a little bit, you know, you can use it for blush. You can even use it for highlight if you want. This is definitely going to be coming with me the next time I'm able to travel, because yeah, I just feel like this covers the entire face. So that's the Yano series brush 2. It's part of the face set. And these hairs, this is squirrel hair. So it's even softer than goat hair. It's like whisper soft on the skin. If you have sensitive skin and maybe you feel like it's irritated when you use some brushes, I highly recommend squirrel hair. It is like minky soft. So that's the brush number 2. And then in terms of the eye brushes, I did just want to mention brush number 8. This is another great blending brush. And let me just hold it up next to the Sonia G Blender Pro. So these brushes are nearly identical. So the reason why I even wanted to bring this up is this one is, I believe, a blend of squirrel and goat. Yeah, and then this one is dyed goat hair. So if, again, your eyelids maybe are just a little bit more sensitive, which they probably are compared to the rest of your face, you may want to try a brush that has squirrel hair in it, because it's so soft. And even though squirrel hair is very soft, it's very gentle. There's no compromise in how it picks up product and lays down product. And that's generally my issue with synthetic haired brushes. Synthetic haired brushes are so soft, like you cannot beat the softness of them, but I just don't find them very effective in picking up product, in laying it down. They just don't work quite as well as natural haired brushes. So I did just want to mention this one. This is, again, the brush number 8 from Beautylish, part of their Yano series. All right, now let's move on to Chikuhodo, another one of my favorite Japanese handmade brush companies. So the Z1, this is like just like their staple powder brush. This is also made out of squirrel hair, and it's so soft, but it's so fluffy and big, and it just makes very quick work of applying powder. And because it has like a round shape, it's nice to use to buff. It's nice to use to kind of like swipe away. It's just really just, you know, like all of these brushes, just such a joy to use. I just really love it. So that is the Z1. And then I also just really enjoy the Cheek highlight brush. So this brush has a little bit of a pinch in the ferrule, so it is oval shaped. And this one is just great. It's part of the Z series as well. Again, I'll list all of, well, obviously everything I'm talking about down below, but like the proper name, because Chikuhodo doesn't actually put like the Z number on here. They just have like the description of the brush. So it's a cheek highlight brush, but I think maybe this is a Z4. Anyway, I just love this brush because it's just so light and soft, and it will kind of give like whatever product you're laying down, it will give it this like cotton candy kind of effect on the cheek. It just lays it down like a poof, and it's so beautiful. And I do want to mention it is very similar. It's definitely denser and a little bit bigger than the Suku cheek brush, which is very, very popular, but very difficult to find. And you can see the Suku, it just like fans out a little bit more because it is like more loosely packed, and it's just the bristles are kind of laid down in more of like a fan-like shape. But I just love this one because it's just a little bit denser, and I do like a strong cheek. So I just feel like this one is a little bit more efficient for me. But I do feel like when I'm using this one, it feels like I'm using this one as well. Like they're very close. They're very similar. So I did just want to point that out because that Suku cheek brush is very popular. Lisa Eldridge made that one very, very popular, but it's difficult to find. So anyway, just wanted to mention this brush and mention its similarity to that Suku brush. And then this eyeshadow brush is one of my favorites. And this is, I believe, the Z5. So it is a very large kind of flat shader brush. Again, squirrel hair. And let me hold it up actually next to that Worker 3 brush, so you can see how much fatter the Z5 is. And again, because, you know, I like those one and done shadows, or I'm not doing ever really like that precise of like an eyeshadow job on my lids, other than maybe liner, but I'm never really doing like a cut crease or anything too advanced, being that I'm not an advanced makeup artist in any way, shape, or form. I just really love larger eyeshadow brushes that make putting eyeshadow down very, very efficient. And this also is great if you like to just add a little bit of powder underneath your eyebrow. For me, it just fits really beautifully right there. It's great, again, just for lay down. I also find it's really great if I have two colors, which I do a lot. I do a lighter color and a deeper color on the outside. And where they meet, sometimes it needs like a little bit of help with blending. I will take this brush and just kind of go back and forth in that little area just to kind of blend it out. And because this is like a nice thickness, a nice height there, it just does it really quickly. So love this brush. And again, very, very soft. And then just two more brushes from Chikuhodo. This is from their GSN line. So the GSN 9 brush is a small shader brush. And you know, this was recommended to, well, not just to me, but to everyone by Tara Babies. She loves this brush, always used it. And I thought, well, it's squirrel hair. It's this little shader brush. You know, I don't know how effective it's going to be. This brush actually picks up and lays down a lot of product very, very beautifully. So it picks up a lot of product, but it lays it down in this way that looks like it's just immediately blended out. There's like a very, very special touch to this brush. It really looks like nothing. It really looks like, oh, okay, great, Michelle, flat shader. No, there's something very, very special about this GSN 9 brush. And again, squirrel hair, super, super soft. It's just one of those tools that's like, it's inexplicable. It's inexplicable how or why it lays down product as beautifully as it does. So that's the GSN 9. And then I did want to mention the GSN 1 brush. So this is another big powder brush. And I mentioned the Z1, but this one is like a flat paddle shape. So this one is round, the Z1. And this one I really, really like because sometimes when I'm setting powder down, I'm not necessarily like buffing it into my skin. All I'm doing is I want it to kind of sit on top of my foundation, my concealer, and I want it to set it. So what I'll do is I'll put like a lot of powder down and then brush it away. And what I don't want to do is like disturb the foundation underneath. And I don't want to like buff or use too many motions. And this is when like a really big flat paddle comes in handy, at least for me. And I'll just really just like swipe away the powder. And I love it for that. Again, squirrel hair, super, super soft. When you're doing this, you're not even going to feel anything going on your skin. It's just wonderful and very, very effective. So I did want to just point out this brush as well. And then the last bunch of brushes I wanted to talk about, I could go on and on about brushes, but the last bunch of brushes I wanted to talk about are from Koyudo. And this Koyudo brush, this is one of their... I giggle every time I have to say it because it's the FU-PA. So these are the Fupa brushes. And I recommended this, I think, in like maybe the last two Beautylish videos that I did. But this Fupa brush has a really short handle, so it's great for travel. It's great if you are not into a long handle, which sometimes I'm not. And it's a foundation brush. So this is undyed goat hair, and it's such a great foundation brush because it is so dense. So it really spreads the product out really evenly. And because it's so dense, there are no like brush marks or streaks or anything like that left over. And it just blends the foundation in really quickly. I really like using this with like cream foundations. It just really moves the product evenly and just nicely, and it just doesn't, leave any marks. So I really love that. And most recently, Beautylish actually sent me over these Koyudo brushes. So these are the Yoshiki brushes. So let me start with the #1 powder brush. So these are all undyed goat hair, incredibly soft. And this brush, I have been using and playing around with as if it were one of the Sonia G like Smooth Buffer or Face One brushes. It doesn't quite have the same effect because it's rounded at the top. It's not flat, so I don't think it blends out quite as nicely as that, but it is a very close second, a very close second. I've actually been very impressed at how evenly and how much of like a nice kind of like glow it does give my skin. I would say if you are someone, like I was just talking about setting down my makeup, so I put powder down, I kind of leave it there for a second, and then I brush any excess away, almost like a mini bake, I'm realizing as I'm saying it. I mean, not nearly as much powder as you would, or as I've seen people do when they bake their under eyes, but kind of that same idea. Anyway, that's what I like to do. But I know a lot of people love to just apply powder on like they're buffing. This is perfect for that. So I tried that technique, which I do on occasion. And what I loved is if you use a light hand, it does not like disturb any of the product underneath at all. It's so soft. And it is a dense brush, but there's like a lot of nice movement with here. And I think that is like the sweet spot, so that you're not moving any foundation underneath or moving any product underneath. And it's just, oh yeah, it's great. This brush is really wonderful. And of course, you could use it for any other face product if you have, contour, bronzer, whatever. I think how I'm gonna be using it, of course, it always kind of depends once I start doing my makeup. But I think, once I spend a little bit more time with this brush, I think this is going to be a great like blend out brush. Like if my contour is just a little bit too severe, this is going to be great to blend out. And speaking of that, the other brush that I've been playing with is the Yoshiki #2 brush. So this is the blush brush, and this is basically like a mini version of the powder brush. It has the same kind of density to it, but still a lot of movement at the tips of the bristles. So you can blend, you can apply. It is really quite versatile. I actually used this today to kind of like blend out my blush, which was a little bit strong. And it just did such a nice job, just kind of like blowing everything out. So that's the Yoshiki #2 brush. And then the Yoshiki #3 brush is this large eyeshadow brush. And I've been able to use this a couple of times, and I don't have anything like this in my collection. I was kind of looking around, but it comes to a point, but it is fairly large. Let me pull out another brush. Let me pull out the Sonia G Blender Pro so you can see how much wider the ferrule is at the base here. So this is such a uniquely shaped brush, at least for me, and because it comes to such a sharp tip, you can use it for liner for sure. If you lay this down, you can use it to like lay down product. I actually used it the other day like this to kind of blend out shadow, just kind of on its side. Have you guys ever used that tool if you're an artist and maybe you like charcoal? It's like those paper stumps and you use it to kind of like blend out charcoal. That's how I was using this, and it was so effective. I've washed this brush since then because I was really interested if it was going to keep this like really sharp tip shape, and I kind of reshaped it when it was wet. I dried it upside down and it dried in this shape. So it's really wonderful, and I really like using it kind of like as a stump. Anyway, really love that brush. So those are my Koyudo picks. Really enjoy those. And I think that's it for brushes. I think that's enough. Sorry about that. Like I said, I could go on about brushes for a long time. But let's move on to some other things. And I did want to mention that, you know, we all know that Sephora sale is coming soon. Where we get 20% off of everything. If you're a Rouge member, 15 and 10% as well. So a lot of the things that I'm going to be mentioning from Beautylish, and a lot of the reason why I love Beautylish is that they carry other brands. So there's going to be some overlap. I'm definitely going to be mentioning some things that are carried at Sephora as well. But I really tried to focus on, I think, what makes Beautylish so special, like these brushes and some other brands that they carry. So I'm going to start with By Terry. I love the By Terry Brightening CC Serum. I think that is probably, I have a lot of favorites from them, but I think that's one of like my favorite products from By Terry. So I like to use the Apricot Glow. I believe that is the name. So I have this smaller bottle because I got like one of those sets where it had like a whole bunch of them, like the pink one. I think this is like Rose Glow or something. Anyway, I got a bunch of them in the smaller size. I like this Apricot Glow because it just works really well for my skin tone. And when I'm feeling strong, when my skin is looking good, I should say, so I will just put this all over as kind of like a glowy, like skin perfector. I wouldn't call it a foundation, obviously, but I'm using it in that way. And it's really, really beautiful. When I'm tanner, I will use the Sunny Flash shade, which is deeper, but this color really suits me most of the time. So this is the Apricot Glow. And then because there is such a lovely sheen to this, you can use it obviously as like liquid highlight. You can use it as a primer if you just want to lay it down first and then put foundation over. So I use this today because I just sort of like patted it on. I use like a little brush to just sort of blend it in. It just has just such a lovely texture and it has such a lovely sheen. It is obviously very, very sheeny. It can be used as a highlight. But when you use it by itself, like I just mentioned, using it sort of like in lieu of foundation, it doesn't look overly metallic. It doesn't make me look like, you know, Tin Man. It just gives me this beautiful glow. So it's really like this kind of like chameleon type of product where it works well underneath something. I feel like it glows enough so that if you put kind of like a light medium foundation over it, the glow still comes through. If you use it by itself, it's not too glowy. If you use it over your foundation as a highlight, it is effective enough. Like it's just a wonderful, wonderful product. It does have a little bit of a rose fragrance, the By Terry rose fragrance. If you're not into that, you want to stay away probably from most of the By Terry products, but I did want to mention that if it does bother you. So that's the Brightening CC Serum. The other product I want to mention that I've talked about plenty of times is their Hyaluronic Tinted Hydra Powder. So their original looks like it's white, and then they came out with a whole range of tinted powders, and I have just grown to really love the #1 Rosy Light. This is the one that has like a little bit of a pink tinge to it. You can see it in the cap there. Woo. You could see it in the cap there. And what I do, it's going to take me forever to get through this, but what I do is I will take my finger and I will press this powder underneath my eyes. And it is my favorite like under eye setting powder. And when I press it in, it looks so smooth. It really like sets any kind of concealer down or any kind of, you know, foundation or any liquid product that I have down underneath my eyes. And when I press it down, it just keeps my eyes from looking cakey or dry or, you know, anything like that. It just, I don't know, there's something about the pressing in of the powder. And I think I mentioned this when I was talking about the Tatcha, the silk powder, their loose powder that just came out. I didn't like it when I just brushed it over my skin. And I kind of feel the same way about this Hydra powder. Sometimes I feel like it just looks a little drying and sometimes a little obvious too, no matter how little I use. But if I use my finger and press it in and just kind of stick to my under eyes, it is magical. I just love how smooth it looks. And it also, I've noticed, prevents any like eyeliner smudge. It prevents any kind of like mascara smudging. Not always. There's some mascaras that are very stubborn and they'll smudge no matter what. But I have noticed that it really kind of keeps that stuff at bay. This powder is just really, really wonderful. So of course, had to mention that again. And this I think I mentioned in my last Beautylish recommendations video, but this is their Terribly Denseless Foundation. This is their Anti-Wrinkle Serum Foundation. This is a beautiful foundation. And I don't have a ton of experience with By Terry foundations, but I've tried a couple and they looked okay. They looked okay on my skin, but I didn't necessarily like how they felt or how they applied. You know, for me, it's the whole process. Like how it looks is just sort of the final stage in the whole makeup process. And I really like the experience and the process of putting makeup on. It's not just about how I look. It has to look nice too, but it's not just about how it looks. Anyway, this is just a pleasure to use. It has a really nice consistency. It goes on really beautifully and easily. I don't feel like it's fussy at all. And it has like a really nice kind of like light medium coverage, which is sort of my sweet spot. So I have the shade number 3 Vanilla Beige. And this one is, well, I should say this. It was too light for me when I first got it, but now it's actually like a pretty good match. So if you need like shade reference, Vanilla Beige is working for me now. I am very, very pale for me. So I completely forgot to mention this By Terry Hyaluronic Hydra Concealer. I use shades 100 and 200, and this is their newest concealer product, and it is really, really wonderful. It has a beautiful texture. It's very, very creamy. It has more coverage than their serum concealer, that Terribly Denseless concealer, which I also love, but this has a little bit more coverage, which is really great, especially when it comes to a concealer. And the texture is really wonderful. I use this underneath my eyes. I don't necessarily like to use this all over my face, but it is wonderful for under my eyes. It leaves my under eye skin feeling like just really smooth and moisturized, and it makes them look a little bit more plump. My fine lines are kind of like plumped out a bit more, and it's just great. So shade 100 is for fair skin with cool undertones, but I find the actual concealer to be a little bit on the I guess you could say like yellow warmer side. So maybe it's meant to correct. And then 200 is for warmer skin tones, fair still, but I find that one to be a little bit more neutral, and I find myself reaching for shade 200 a little bit more. All right, next up, let's talk about Koh Gen Do. Koh Gen Do is another one of my favorites, and their moisture foundation was just recently reformulated, and I love, love, love this foundation. Absolutely love it. This is probably tied for my favorite foundation, which is what I have on my skin, which is something else, which I'll talk about in just a bit. But this is gorgeous. It is the most natural foundation. Just, it's long wearing. It has like light medium coverage, totally buildable. By the second layer, you have like medium coverage. It is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I have the shade 113. I also have the shade 123. 113 is working better for me now, again, because I'm very pale. But this is fantastic. I've talked about this a lot. And this, I think, was in my best of 2020. Love this foundation. And I just love Koh Gen Do. Their things are they're so like under the radar perfect. It's like you have to use them a couple times and then you're like, wow. You know, like you really come to appreciate them. Speaking of their natural lighting powder, definitely like my favorite loose powder. This loose powder, and I do have this on today, this loose powder is just, it's just so good. It's so, so good. It has like a beautiful satin finish without any like shine to it, without any micro glitters. It just is this soft satin kind of, it's just beautiful. It's just absolutely beautiful. If you're not someone who's into matte, like the matte look, which I'm not, and you want like a little something, you know, it's like, I want to use powder, but I don't want to look powdery and dry. This is the powder for you. This is just absolutely wonderful. And I have gone on and on and on about this loose powder in the past, so I'm just gonna move on. Koh Gen Do also has this brightening moisture powder. This is their powder that comes in a compact, and it has like a little swirl in there. Actually, can you see that? It has like a white and a pink swirl in there. Their original was like the beige color. Let me show you. And people would call this like the latte, the latte powder. So it has like a beige and a white powder in there. The white powder has like quite a bit of sheen to it. So it is a very brightening, like they're not kidding when they call this a brightening powder. This powder is absolutely gorgeous. I love this powder. The pink one definitely is more fair skin, cool undertone friendly because it is so cool itself. But they're just wonderful. And it will give your skin like the most beautiful pearl sheen. So with that said, and you can see in this swatch, it is definitely a powder that is like a little bit more amped up than just translucent. There really is quite a bit of, I guess, pigment, you could say. There's quite a bit of pigment to this powder. You can obviously use it much more lightly than this because that's kind of an aggressive swatch, but I did just want to show you that there is like a bit of white to it. So just wanted to point that out. But those are all of the Koh Gen Do products that I wanted to mention. Let's move on to Sisley because this is a very, very large category for me. All right, let's talk about Sisley foundations. I love Sisley foundation. Love Sisley foundation. So this anti-aging foundation, this is part of their Sisley line. I do have it in the shade 0.R Vanilla. And this is like I would say a medium coverage foundation. It is really just very beautiful. It's just very, very beautiful on the skin. There's decent coverage. It's just a very like normal foundation. There isn't any sheen to it. It's not matte. It's just like their kind of like all around workhorse foundation is what I would call this particular foundation. And like all Sisley products, they have skincare benefits in there. This particular foundation is oil free and it's really just quite impeccable on the skin. I don't use it as much as some of the other ones because it does have a medium coverage. And like I said, I usually go for like light medium, or I do like, like the By Terry Brightening CC Serum instead of foundation. But when I do want something a little bit more perfecting, if I'm trying to look my very, very best, this is definitely an option for me. So that is their anti-aging foundation. The other foundation that I really enjoy from them, also oil-free, this is their Phyto 10 Ultra Eclat. And this is also newly reformulated. I want to say last year they reformulated it and it has this zebra print cap on it now. This is a much lighter weight foundation than their Sisley anti-aging foundation. So it's lighter weight in texture. It's like almost kind of runny. It's very thin, but it also has lighter coverage. But this is incredibly long lasting, like incredibly long lasting. If you're gonna have a 12, 14, 16 hour day, you can definitely like rely on this foundation. I think it's really quite wonderful. And it does have more of a matte finish than I prefer. I definitely like more of a glow to my foundation, but it doesn't look dry at all. It doesn't look flat at all. It really just is lacking any shine. But I think the standout characteristic for this foundation is its long wear. It's really, really incredible because it's, because it's so thin. I thought, well, how could this be long lasting? I remember when I did a wear test with this, I was like, it's so thin, long lasting. It was really incredible. So that is the Sisley Phyto 10 Ultra Eclat. And then lastly, in terms of their foundations, this is their tinted sunscreen cream. This, I think I just mentioned this in the Saks video that I did. I did like recommendations for their friends and family. It is the most luxurious kind of like cream. It really feels like a moisturizing cream on your skin. It has like this beautiful kind of like rich texture. I use shade 1 Natural. It has an SPF 30. It's water resistant. It's so weird because it's a cream texture, so it's on the thicker side, but it doesn't feel heavy or anything on the skin. It also doesn't look heavy. I would say this has like a medium coverage, but you just wouldn't think it. Like it just is so skin perfecting, and you look in the mirror and you're like, okay, like my skin is like completely like, evened out or whatever, but it doesn't feel like I have like a medium coverage foundation on. I know that sounds very, very weird and probably doesn't make any sense, but it's just, yeah, you just put it on, you feel like you've just put like night cream on, and it has like SPF in there and it's tinted or whatever, and you just look so much better. It's just such a weird experience. Anyway, I'm not making any sense, so I'm just going to move on. The active ingredients in here for the SPF are physical as well. So if you're not a fan of chemical sunscreen, just physical in here, titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. So I think that's great as well. So those are the Sisley foundations that I just love. I depend on, I reach for, they're just wonderful. And I've been talking about these blushes a lot. These are the new Sisley blushes. They're just wonderful. This one is number 2, Rosy Fuchsia. And they've come out with 5 blushes and 1 highlight. And I keep pointing out these 2 shades because these are the 2 that I keep reaching for. This is number 4, Golden Rose. And this is the one that has like a beautiful golden sheen to it. So I just think it would make a beautiful highlight for a deeper skin tone, or a beautiful blush topper, or if you have fair skin, I think it would make just for a beautiful glowy blush. But I like to double blush with these. I'll put like a very light layer of the Golden Rose down, and then I'll put Rosy Fuchsia kind of like on the apples of my cheeks. And I was going to use these today, but I actually have a different blush that I wanted to talk about. And again, I've been talking about this nonstop for like the past month or so. So anyway, moving on from the blushes, I did also want to mention the bronzer that I'm using is a Sisley bronzer. This is one of their, like, I think one of their hero products, but this is their Sun Glow Bronzing Gel Powder. This is like a baked gelée product. It is so incredible. It has like a silvery kind of sheen to it. And it's definitely on the warmer side. This is a bronzer that I do like to use in the warmer months. I don't use this one too much like in the fall, winter when I opt for bronzers that are a little bit more, you know, neutral in tone. But this one I really, really love. And like I said, I have this all over my face today. And again, I like a sheen. I'm not really into that matte look. So I really appreciate this like silver kind of like glow to it. And because this is a baked gelée product, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to pick up baked gelée products like the actual like pigment. So I definitely recommend using a natural haired brush when using this particular product. So just wanted to mention that. And then for press powders, I did want to mention the Sisley press powder. I've talked about these a lot ever since these were reformulated and repackaged, but I do have shade number 2 Natural, which is what I use all over my face. I don't think I used it today. I'm trying to remember. No, I used the By Terry. I used the Koh Gen Do because I haven't used this in a while, but I just really love this powder. It's very smooth. It's very like, it has like a satin finish to it. So again, nothing like flat and matte, which I really enjoy. I do also have number 4 Bronze, and this is a great bronzing powder for my skin tone, or just a great press powder for like a medium deeper skin tone. So that's number 4 Bronze, and just really easy to use like press powders. Unlike their gel powder here, the bronzer, you can use like any brush with these. So love those powders, and again, I've talked about those quite a bit. I did also want to mention the Sisley single eyeshadows. They're Lafito Ombre. And I picked out 5 colors to mention, but I only put 2 on my lids today. So let me talk about the 2 that I have on my lids. The first one is Glow Pearl. So these are all baked gelée shadows. And again, I would recommend using a natural haired brush. So this is what I have on the inner corner, like medium portion of my lid. It's just really pretty. I just really, really love these shadows. They're just so, so gorgeous. Let me do some quick swatches for you. So they're almost like a really high shine satin kind of finish. I don't know if I would go so far as to call them metallic. Maybe somewhere between satin and metallic, but that is Glow Pearl number 40. And then the shade that I have like on my outer corners, just to give it a little bit of dimension, is number 25, Metallic Khaki. And you guys know how much I love green shadow. I just love this shadow. So this is their metallic finish. And again, it's just like a really amped up satin finish, which is like my favorite. So that's Metallic Khaki, and has like a gold kind of like sheen to it, and just a really kind of like a deep olive shade. So those 2 are what I have on my eyes. Love those 2 shades, but I did want to mention just 3 other shades that I reach for quite a bit. This one is Sparkling Topaz number 14. I love using this if I'm doing like a one and done shadow. So there is number 14, Sparkling Topaz. And because these are all baked gelée shadows, they just go on so smoothly, and they're very long lasting. I never ever find that these Sisley shadows fade at all. I never feel like I have to touch up. They just stay put. Like it will look exactly like this at the end of the day. The next color I wanted to point out is Silky Steel. And there is Silky Steel next to Sparkling Topaz. So just a really beautiful, like mid-tone gray, maybe a little bit on the deeper side, but nothing too charcoaly. So this is another great one and done shadow if I'm looking for something more cool toned. And then last but not least is Glow Silver. This color, if you're really into something almost like intergalactic looking, is the one for you. It is so bright. It's so bright and shiny, and it just, oh yeah. I mean, you can use it as a topper. You can use it obviously all by itself. It's just so much fun. And it's like just looks like crushed pearls. So beautiful. So those are the 5 Sisley shadows that I really love. They're probably my favorite. I really love all of them, but those are probably the 5 that I reach for the most. And then I just wanted to mention some Sisley lip products. So I've been loving their Lifito Gloss. So this is shade number 1. This is actually what I have on my lips today with a lip liner, which I'll talk about in just a bit. But this is just like this really beautiful, like white, milky, kind of like glittery gloss. It's great as a topper. It's great to mix in with lip liner. It's great by itself if you just want like a little something. So loving that. And then I did just want to mention, because you know, coming up with recommendations, of course I wanted to recommend like my all-time favorites, but I did have like the coming months in mind. You know, things are warming up a little bit. Hopefully we'll be getting out a little bit more and traveling a little bit more. And so I did want to mention these Fito lip twists. These are, I don't know, they're just very summery to me because they're easy to put on. Like they're just like these pencils, and they're just great to kind of like throw into your bag or travel with. I don't know, they're just easy. They're just really easy. So this shade is number 7. I believe this is just like a coral color, which you guys know I love. So there is number 7. And so there's like a decent amount of pigmentation, really easy to put on, like I keep saying, and really comfortable on the lips. Just a really nice moisturizing formula. I'll say it again, easy kind of lip product. And then here is number 1, which actually has a little bit of like glitter in there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but here is number 1. So this is like a nice nude color if you're into nudes. And it has, I mean, maybe next to the coral you can see. So coral is just straight up kind of like a satin finish. This one has a little bit more going on in there because there's like teeny tiny micro glitters in there. So those 2 are probably my favorite shades in this collection. Of course, it always kind of depends on my mood. I do have a bunch more, but I really reach for these 2, I think, the most. And then one last thing, and I'll do this very quickly, but one last thing before we move into Sisley Skincare is the, whoa, almost dropped, is the Sisley lip liner. This is their perfect lip liner, and another product that I have been going on and on about for many years, but I love the formula of these lip liners. They feel very soft, they're very smooth, they glide right onto the lips. They feel like they're not going to be long lasting, but they're very long lasting. They set down without feeling dry, without feeling like they've set down like a lot of lip liners do. So I just love them. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about Sisley Skincare. So one of my favorite masks, it's definitely one that I reach for a lot. I definitely have been playing around with a lot more masks, so I feel like I'm developing a list of favorites, but this is one of my OGs. This is the Sisley Velvet Sleeping Mask. And this will just make you look like you had like a week's worth of full night's rests. It's wonderful. It has like a really subtle kind of fragrance. And I was actually chatting with one of my subscribers, or I consider a friend now, over Instagram, and we were agreeing that they need to come out with like a fragrance that smells like this. They use saffron flowers in here, and it's just gorgeous. I just love this mask. It really does wonders. If I'm feeling tired, if I'm traveling, jet lag, I use this mask. It's gorgeous. It really will make you look very well rested. It's amazing. Next is their eye contour mask. And you know, you really don't need to use a lot of this, just sort of like a thin layer underneath each eye. And it really really helps with puffiness. And I have talked about this quite a bit in the past, and I will put this in my little skincare fridge just because I like eye products to feel cool. It just feels nice. But I was reminded of this because I've been suffering from allergies. And when I suffer from allergies, my eyes are very, very puffy and they're just very sensitive and they're very irritated. And I used this the other day because it just looked really puffy. It just unattractive. It was very unattractive. So anyway, I used this and it really helped. It just calms things down. It's almost like this nice exhale for my under eye area. Like they're just so irritated by the time I wake up when, I have seasonal allergies, that when I put this on, they're like, okay, all right, we can breathe again. Like it's not so bad. So I really, really enjoy this mask. And this is really the only eye mask. Yeah, I would say this is the only eye mask I've ever experienced that really helps with puffiness. There are a lot of eye masks out there, eye products that help with wrinkles and fine lines and the texture of your skin, which is great. But for me, it's puffiness. That is my main issue. So I'm very thankful for that eye contour mask from Sisley. And speaking of eye creams, the Sisley eye and lip contour cream is one of my favorite eye creams. But this is what I like to use during the day. So it sits really well underneath makeup. It absorbs quickly, even though it's very, very thick and you need just a little bit. And you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of eye creams, only because I'm lazy, only because if I don't have time to do my full skincare routine, this is probably the one step that falls to the wayside. But I never regret using this. I'm always very, very happy when I do have the time, when I remember to use this. It's just really great. And it is also for the lips. So I do put it along my lip line at the top here. So this is just really nice for that area. It's also very, very calming. So I really enjoy this. And then they just came out with more products for their brightening line. This is their Phyto Blanc line. And the first product I believe that I used from their Phyto Blanc line was this Pure Bright Activating Serum. And they came out with this, I want to say, earlier last year. And this is one of those products that I put it on, after I cleansed and I toned. I went in with this serum and I felt like there were a lot of things at that time that were claiming to do the same things this did, which was kind of even out skin tone and minimize pores. And I don't have gigantic pores all over my face, but I do, like most people, have larger pores right here, over my nasal cavity, I guess you could say. And I saw it immediately. I was really, really impressed with this. Oh, that's what it was. I was testing out this and testing out the Victoria Beckham serum, the one that comes with the dropper. I was testing that and I thought, okay, this is okay. And I kind of felt like it was good. And I used that for about a month. And then I switched over and started using this. And this was you could consider the Victoria Beckham good. And this was best. This wasn't even better. This was best. I saw my pores minimize immediately, and it continued to minimize my pores. Every time I used it, it was whoosh, I could see it immediately, and I can see that it evened out my skin tone a lot in terms of redness. My cheeks, my jawline here, very, very red, can be very, very blotchy, and it just evened things out. And I do have a lot of sunspots that I do feel it just kind of turned down the pigment in my sunspots a little bit. Again, it just sort of helped even things out. And I swear by this. This is my second tube of this serum. So they came out with this brightening, hydrating lotion. And this is something I like to use after toning. So it's a very thin lotion. It's not like a typical lotion. It's a very thin consistency. And what it does is it just kind of preps your skin for other skincare. It softens it up, kind of paves the way for other skincare. And because this is part of the brightening line, it has more of those ingredients that's going to, kind of brighten up your skin. So this has been really helpful. And then they do have the brightening protective moisturizer. There is a lot of information about the ingredients that are in here, which of course you can read on the Beautylish site. So I'm not going to bore you too much with that. But this protective moisturizer is lovely. It has a really thick kind of texture. I was surprised, because it's in this pump and I thought, oh, it's probably going to be, like a typical lotion or kind of like the serum, but it's actually quite thick. And because I have dry skin, I was really pleasantly surprised. So wanted to mention this new Phyto Blanc line. It's just been really, really good to me. And then the last Sisley product I want to mention is this Gentle Eye and Lip Makeup Remover. And they have like a makeup remover that comes in like a bigger kind of like plastic tub. It's like white with like maybe black or gray. Anyway, I remember asking Sisley, like, what makes this so gentle? And apparently the pH in this remover is the same exact pH level as your tears. So it is very, very gentle. Like, it's not astringent at all. It's almost like soothing. So the reason why I was reminded of this product was the other day I did all of those Dior eye swatches, which was so much fun. And I loved doing that for you guys. But my eyelids were like, no more. We're not doing this ever again. And of course I had to remove my eye makeup, and I was looking for something that was going to be very soothing, and this came to the rescue. So I got to remove my eyeshadow with this, and you know, it just didn't add to the irritation already. It really calmed them down. And then I did remember that when I did purchase this at the Sisley counter, the woman was like, you know, you can put this on cotton pads and just put it over your eyes as kind of like a treatment. You know, you don't only have to use this as remover because it is so soothing. And so I did that after I removed all the eyeshadow. I did that, and it really, really helped. So I love this product. It's just really, really wonderful. And then I did want to mention the Sisley Itsy La Nuit. This is their newest scent, and they so kindly gifted this to me, and it is the perfect like warmer months scent. There's like a sweetness to it, there's a brightness to it, but there's a lot of warmth. And when I close my eyes, I feel like I see kind of like an early dinner, like when you're at the beach and you go out to dinner so that you can watch the sunset. So it's kind of like on the earlier side. That's what this perfume reminds me of. Like, this is when you would want to wear it to like watch the sunset. It's just a really nice balance between fruits and florals and like a nice like kind of like base to ground it. Oh, it's gorgeous. So highly recommend this fragrance. It is really perfect for the coming months. And speaking of fragrances, Beautylish, when they told me about this gift card event coming up, and we were so excited, and they offered to send me some things if there was anything on the site that I didn't already have, of which I have a lot, but you know, that I wanted to try out. And I remember going through my perfume collection with you guys. I made a video on that, and many people commented like, can't believe you don't have any Tom Ford perfumes. And I thought, you know, that's kind of weird, but I definitely have been to, you know, the Tom Ford counter, and I have tried a lot of the scents, and a lot of them are just very serious. I find the Tom Ford fragrances to be very mature, and not in a bad way, but mature, like women wear Tom Ford fragrances, not girls, women. At that point in time, I was really just wearing like very light, fruity fragrances. I really wasn't thinking too much about it. Like I've mentioned in the past, like I'm just kind of getting into perfumes and kind of like broadening my horizons when it comes to perfume. So Beautylish was kind enough in sending me a few to try out. So I am currently wearing Rose Prick. And this is definitely, I feel like a fragrance I would not have liked a couple years ago. It has like the lightness of the rose. That's like definitely must be a top note. It's light, it's sweet, but as soon as you get it onto the skin, or as soon as you just spray it, all of a sudden you smell a little bit of spiciness, and you smell a little bit of warmth, and all of a sudden the roses are just sort of like a backdrop to like these deeper, more sophisticated notes. And you know, I wasn't surprised, because again, that's how I think of Tom Ford fragrances. There's always like a little bit of mystery and like a little bit of like depth to them. And like I said, I feel like Tom Ford fragrances really aren't for the faint of heart. They're really, really for the woman, for like the mature, sophisticated, confident woman. And so I'm really enjoying the Rose Prick. I have to say, I was a little bit like, oh, this smells a little bit heavy, but I do think the rose does keep it light. I would definitely wear this in the evening if I had a choice. From what I can tell so far, like I said, this is kind of my first foray into Tom Ford. This Rose Prick has been lasting a long time. And then I also wanted to try out Bitter Peach. I think I mentioned this in like a wish list video, maybe for like my Sephora video. Anyway, I really wanted to try Bitter Peach because fruity, I love peach, I love apricot scents, the whole thing. And again, because this is Tom Ford, yes, obviously there is a peach scent to it, but there's a lot more going on. And so I'm just reading off the notes here. So peach, blood orange, cardamom and heliotrope are the top notes. The middle notes, which is what I think I smell the most, is rum, cognac, Davana, and jasmine. So there's like the warmth of that, the rum and the cognac. So it smells like peach liqueur. That's what I'm thinking of. It smells like peach liqueur. And then the base notes, Indonesian patchouli leaf, sandalwood, vanilla, tonka bean. You can definitely smell the vanilla in the tonka bean. It makes it very, very kind of like warm. Cashmeran, benzoin, labdanum, styrax, and vetiver. Yeah, this is such an interesting scent. It is very fruity, but I feel like it's almost like you were suckered into it. Like the color of this, it's orange, it's called bitter peach, and you're like, oh yeah. And then all of a sudden it calms down, you've sprayed it, it's been on your skin for a little while, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's again, just this very kind of like warm, sophisticated, maybe a hint of the peach you smell, but it's like everything else. It's like intoxicating. So this is definitely one fragrance that it's not exactly what I expected, but it's growing on me more than I thought it would. It's just really, it's mysterious. It's really wonderful. So anyway, the bitter peach. And then there was one that I wanted to try that has been part of the Tom Ford line for a very long time. And again, now because I'm kind of broadening my horizons when it comes to fragrance, this is one that I was like, I bet I'm going to like this fragrance now. Never did before, but I bet I'm going to like it now. And this is the Tobacco Vanille. And wouldn't you know it, I love this one. It smells like liqueur. It almost smells like you're drinking a sweet liqueur while sitting in like an old like library with leather seats and leather bound books. Oh, I love it. And for those of you who don't know, I used to be a smoker. I miss it every single day, but I used to be a smoker and I love the smell of cigarettes. Not when they're lit, but like the smell of tobacco. There's like a sweetness to it. It's like this almost like a sour sweetness. God, that sounds terrible, but it's like a sour sweetness, but not fruity, if that makes sense. Oh, that's the tobacco. Oh, I really, really love it. And then the vanilla just makes it a little bit more well-rounded. It makes it just a little bit softer, kind of takes the edge out of the tobacco. Gives it a little bit of sweetness, but not too much. This is still a very kind of like serious Tom Ford woman, confident kind of fragrance. And this is definitely, I would consider more of a fall, winter, evening kind of scent, but I have a feeling I'm going to be wearing this a lot in the coming months. Whew, I'm getting a little lightheaded from all the sniffing. So just one more fragrance before we move on. And Atelier Cologne, Pacific Lime. This is like, you know, an old Michele favorite. This is just light and juicy and really, really fresh. I'm pretty sure I smell like vanilla in here. So the vanilla, again, it just kind of rounds out the lime so that it's not too sharp like a fresh squeezed lime. It has a little bit of more of a gentleness to it, but this is so just fresh and everyday. I cannot wait to wear this in the summertime. This is definitely like, if I'm going to the pool or something, if I'm just running some errands, this is definitely something I'd want to throw on. So that's the Pacific Lime from Atelier Cologne. And moving on to some body care. So Beautylish carries my favorite body care line, and that is Susanne Kaufmann. So I've been using her body scrub and her body butter. The body scrub is so amazing. It is whipped, so it's really, really kind of like light in the hand. And then the scrubby bits are super fine. So it never feels like you're just scratching up your skin. It is so like gentle, but effective. And then after the shower, if you follow it up with the body butter, oh, it's glorious. The body butter is so thick and luxurious, but it absorbs really quickly. So it's not like body butter that just sort of, you know, kind of sits on your skin and makes you feel like you're just like kind of wet all the time. Sorry. I used to hate that feeling that like you're just sitting there waiting for it to absorb, or you put clothes on, you're getting lotion all up and down your clothes. Like I hate that. And I never have that problem with this body butter. And it's, again, really, really effective, but not just like this greasy kind of like layer over your skin. So love the body scrub, love the body butter. And then this is my favorite bubble bath. This is the Mallow Blossom Bubble Bath. It has the most incredible like light fresh scent. And I would say the scent is very unisex. Like my husband uses this bubble bath and he has like no problem smelling like this. It's just very, very fresh and very clean. And this bubble bath, you'll come out of the bath and you'll feel like you were just sitting in moisturizer. Your skin will be so, so soft. So I really love that about this bubble bath. And then finally her hand cream, so good. It's just like the body butter, but even more luxurious. It's a little bit thicker, but it doesn't take like a gazillion years to absorb. Again, I really hate that. And it has like a little bit more of like a pudding type texture. Again, a really light scent. I feel like Susanne Kaufmann must have like a perfumer's like nose, because all of her scents are really subtle and delicate, but they're like so like perfectly appropriate for what they are. Like the bubble bath, the hand cream, like everything smells a little bit different, but they're all really fresh. They're all really like clean smelling. They're all like slightly unisex, just so good. But yeah, the hand cream really, really does a lovely job moisturizing your hands. So those are all of my Susanne Kaufmann recommendations. And then I wanted to mention a couple products from Wayne Goss. I love the Wayne Goss blush palettes, and I think you guys know which one is my favorite, and that's Vivid Azalea. Oh, this is just such a beautiful, beautiful blush and highlight, and it is what I have on my cheeks today. So I do have the Vivid Azalea on my on the apples of my cheeks, and I do have the highlighter over here, which is under the By Terry Apricot Glow, the Brightening CC Serum, but it is there. And I love these blushes, and the size of these pans, you will never have to buy another blush ever again. They're gigantic, and I've used this a lot, and it does not even look like I've touched it. There's something really special about how these are pressed in the pan, or the formulation, something, I don't know, but they just look like they've never been used, and I have used this product quite a bit. So that is the Wayne Goss blush palette in Vivid Azalea. I like all of them, but this one is my favorite. And I love the Essential Eye Kohl pencils from Wayne Goss as well. The one that I use the most, as you can see, it's getting a little stumpy, is the Precious Opal. So this is the deep brown shade that has like a little bit of a metallic glint to it. So today I just tight lined, you know, underneath my upper lash line, and then put it into my lower waterline. And I love it. It stays put all day. It doesn't smudge. It doesn't smear. They're kohl pencils, so they glide on really, really easily. There isn't like that thickness to them that gel liners have. I'm not a fan of gel liners. I really hate like the feeling of them. They're just, yeah, I feel like I'm laying down like a strip of something. Anyway, I really like kohl pencils, and these have been my favorite for a really long time. And I just love how they wear, because not a lot of kohl pencils for me, and this is very personal, but not a lot of kohl pencils like stay put. Sometimes they smudge a little bit. It's okay, you know, I'll kind of clean up the corner of my eyes, but I never have to even do that with these Wayne Goss ones. They just stay put. I never ever, like I've been sitting here talking probably for about 2.5 hours now, and I put my makeup on probably an hour before that. I'm under very, very hot lights, and like nothing. So love these pencils. They're just really phenomenal. Okay, moving on to Surratt Beauty. I will just say this. I recommend any of his brushes, any and all of them. If there's any sort of brush that you've been curious about, any shape that maybe you don't have in your collection, you want to kind of get that shape, just get it. The Surratt brushes are beautiful. They are handmade in Japan. They are made out of squirrel. I have quite a few of them. The one face brush that I would recommend is this, I think they call it the sculpting brush. I call it the angled cheek brush, but I think he calls it a sculpting brush, and it really is just a wonderful angled cheek brush. But I did want to talk about the Surratt products, because there's a lot of products from Surratt that I absolutely love. First is the Dewdrop foundation. So this is and has been my favorite foundation since it came out about 1.5 years ago, I guess. It is what I have on my face today. This is the foundation that I mentioned the Koh Gen Do tying with as my favorite. So I am wearing shade 3. I do have shades 3 and 4. Again, I'm very pale. So 3 is working for me. And I have talked about this foundation a lot. So again, I'll make it quick, but I love the way it makes my skin look and feel. It's stupendous. It is a very lightweight foundation. It has light coverage. and it perfects my skin, not with pigmentation, but with some sort of like light reflecting or light refracting kind of element in there. And it's not like it's shiny or that there's little bits in there, but I feel like it almost just kind of blurs my whole face. Like I said, I don't know how else to put it, but it really kind of perfects your complexion without like coverage. It's amazing. It's almost like you put this like blurring mask on your face, or you've used a filter in a photo. I did also want to mention that Surratt came out with now tinted brow pomades. So originally he had a brow pomade that was just clear. It looked white in the tube, but it ended up being clear. It really holds your brows in place without that crunchy, hard, kind of like typical gel-like feeling. It was like very much like a pomade. It really kind of left your eyebrows flexible, which I really, really like. So now he's come out with tinted ones. Very excited, and I have deep brown on right now. And when I first opened up this product, I will admit the pomade looked a little wet, and I was like, oh no, this is gonna be a mess. So what I've learned to do is, it is this little brush, and all I have to do is just wipe off any excess product from the brush. And when I brush it into my brows, it's great. It lays down exactly the amount of pigment and product that I want. And if I kind of graze the brush onto my skin, not just my eyebrow hairs, it does like a nice filling in job. It's really, really great. And it does a really nice job keeping my brows in place. Is it as good as the Tom Ford Fiber Brow Gel, which you guys know I love? I don't know. I think the Tom Ford Fiber Brow Gel is still my favorite brow product because it has those fibers in there that I always talk about. It has those fibers in there that does such a good job just kind of filling in my sparse brows. But this is really nice, and I'm really excited by all of the lovely brow products that have come out recently, like the Merit Beauty one, the Cure Weiss Brow Gel, I'm really enjoying as well. And this one is really, really nice. So anyway, a nice alternative, a nice option to my Tom Ford Fiber Brow Gel. I did want to mention Natasha Denona, only because this is not on the Sephora site, by the way. This is the Green Brown 28 pan eyeshadow palette. I don't know if Sephora's not carrying it, if this is being discontinued. I hope not. But this is still available on the Beautylish site, and this is my favorite Natasha Denona palette. I just love it. This has every shade you could possibly want if you're into neutrals. We have cooler tone here, we have warmer tone here, and if you're a green lover like I am, you have pretty much every green you could possibly want in the center there. So greens that go from more of a yellow base to greens with more of a blue base over here. Oh, just such a gorgeous palette. Such a gorgeous palette. I love it. I hope to God it's not being discontinued because it is really, really something else. So just wanted to mention this. And then I did want to mention the lip liner that I have on. It is a Natasha Denona lip liner. It is one of her I Need a Nude lip crayons in the shade Julia. Again, I've talked about these lip liners a lot, so I'm just going to move on. But I really, really love the colors of these lip liners. And oh, and I did mention I have that Sisley like Milky White #1 Lafito gloss on top. Let me just end this video with one last thing, and this is a device. And I don't talk a lot about devices on my channel. There's some that I've used, and you know, some that I've played around with, and some that I really enjoy. But it really, I feel like for me to mention them to you, I really have to see a difference. I really have to enjoy using it. It really has to be like a nice product. They're fairly expensive too. So I just really want to make sure that I enjoy product before I mention it to you. So I've been using this ZIIP product ever since it was sent to me. And this was sent to me, I want to say a couple months ago. And I've tried the New Face, which is a very similar product. It does sort of the same thing where it sends like a microcurrent through your, through your skin, and it just sort of helps tighten up your skin. It just sort of like tightens things up. You can definitely read up about it. I am not a dermatologist. I am not an esthetician, but this is a microcurrent tool, and it is very similar to the New Face. I've tried the New Face before. I have seen, people that I love here on YouTube use it, like Lisa Eldridge. I think that's where I first saw it and was like, oh, I think I want to try that. And she was using like an aloe leaf and using the New Face, and I tried the New Face. And the first time I used it, it was nice. I don't know that I really saw much of a difference, but it was nice. It felt nice, you know, going on. And then I stopped using it for a while, I think mainly because I didn't really see that much of a change. And then I went back to using it and I ended up like burning myself with it because you have to use a conductive gel with these products. And I thought I had enough conductive gel down. I guess not, or maybe my skin is very, very sensitive, like on my hairline here, my forehead. This was months ago, probably a year ago at this point, and I had this round burn up here. It wasn't really a burn, it was like irritation, but it ended up being like an eczema patch. Anyway, so I kind of like stepped away from the NuFace and I really hadn't used any of these microcurrent tools since then. And then this was sent to me. I enjoy this so much more and I feel like I see more of a difference with this tool. I don't know like the specifics or why I would see a difference with this one and not the NuFace, but I will tell you that, well, one, I like the form factor of this more. I like being able to hold it like this because you need to have both of these nodes like touching your skin. And this device will actually, like it lights up and it'll actually unlight or it'll turn off if both nodes are not actually touching your face. So it knows when it's not connected in a way where the NuFace you don't know. You're just kind of like using it. And if both nodes are touching, it's fine. But sometimes you get to parts of your face like around your jaw or around your cheekbone where like one node may not be like fully, you know, connected to your skin. So I really like that about this is that it kind of tells you like when it's not connected. The other thing I like about this is that there's an app that goes with this and it has all these different programs to depuff, different programs to tighten for different areas of your face. And I really like them. I like the whole routine that it takes you through and I like the differences and I find that it just works. And I see the difference, especially when I do like the depuffing one, I see the difference fairly quickly. Like I see it as soon as I'm done using it. And I was surprised because my experience with NuFace was, oh, I'm probably going to see a difference over time or whatever, but it was more immediate with this device. Again, I don't really know the specifics. I don't know if, you know, maybe this is stronger or something, or maybe it's just simply the app and how it walks me through exactly where to put it, the amount of pressure I need to put down. And yeah, I think it's just really great. And the other reason why I like this ZIIP product so much, and of course you could use this ZIIP gel with, I think, any microcurrent tool like the NuFace, but this golden gel from ZIIP, I think they also have like a silver gel, but this golden gel from ZIIP, you pump out, you know, a decent amount because you want a nice layer on your skin. You don't want to burn yourself. But like the first layer that you put on, that's all you need. Where with the NuFace, the gel that it comes with, I feel like I have to constantly be reapplying it. It like either evaporates really quickly or it's just thin and it absorbs really quickly. But this, it's like you put that one thick layer on and you're good for your entire like 12-minute treatment. I don't have to keep going in and reapplying it. And I just love this golden gel. So I don't know if this is what makes a difference. Again, I'm not exactly sure, but I've had better luck with this ZIIP device than I have with the NuFace. And again, I wish I knew what the differences were. Again, is it the power? Is it gel? Is it the fact that it walks me through like very specifically what to do? I'm not exactly sure. If any of you guys are dermatologists or estheticians out there and you know, or if you've used both and you've compared both, let us know down below in the comment section. But yeah, all I can say is that I really feel like I see a difference. Like here, I feel like this is more contoured. I've gained a lot of weight during this pandemic, and I feel like my face has kind of, you know, it's gotten bigger, of course, and it's gotten a little bit of bloat. And ever since I started using this, again, I think a couple months ago is when I started using this, I feel like I'm seeing a little bit more, a little bit more bone structure kind of coming through, and I'm so, so happy about that. So I love this ZIIP product, and you know, these devices are not inexpensive, and you know, why not take advantage of a gift card event? So that is it. I literally have been talking for more than 2 hours. I am going to stop talking and edit this video for you guys. But the gift card event does start today. And of course, I'll leave all of the information down below in my description box. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And a big thank you to Beautylish for sending me some products to play around with and test out and recommend for you guys. So please subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video.